go see Justice League. Do it. Do it now. Ignore what the critics are saying and just go watch it. It's a fun ride. It's not exactly the greatest movie. It's not the worst movie, but it is fun. And it's the right kind of fun. I mean, you have Ragnarok, which is a different kind of fun entirely, but I guess I can talk about that one later. So I decided to review Justice League, and yeah, it's a little bit different, but I've done reviews for it, and apparently that was my best viewed video so far. And so I decided to review Justice League because I have quite a bit to say about it. I can't tell you anything about the cinematography, I can't tell you anything about lighting and directing and all the usual stuff that critics have talked about, but I can talk about characters. And with all my background inside DC fan fiction, I think I have a fairly good grasp on the characters. So, here we go. I'm going to start with the weakest, or one I hated the most. And I'll try to work my way up to the best, or what I love most about the whole entire film. But there are a few that are a bit surprised and out of order anyway. I agree with everyone else in saying that Steppenwolf was the weakest character inside the entire film. It was actually, considering that the film is more of an introduction of the Justice League rather than an introduction to the New Gods, it's actually pretty understandable why the villain will be so flat. This time around, DC's strong point wasn't the villain, it was the actual heroes, which it needed in order to actually progress inside movies. So, Steppenwolf was very flat. He was evil for evil's sake, and he was more of a zealot than he was a big bad guy who was out to conquer the world. So, yeah, he is the weakest part. But for this movie, it was okay for him to be the weakest thing. It was about character, not about, fighting evil. Next weakest is actually Aquaman. I've actually not seen a lot of things with Jason Momoa inside it, so I can't say anything about him as an actor, other than the fact that he has some really nice looking muscles, and he has a lot of tattoos. That is pretty much all he is inside this. He was the actor, he wasn't the character. For instance, he was getting drunk and he was taking off his shirt. That was pretty much all he did. He did a whole bunch of, fighting, a lot of badassery, for lack of a better word. And he was very good at that, but as a character, he sucked. This Aquaman completely derailed from the staple of the other Aquamans. I mean, you have the Aquaman inside the Justice League cartoon series who is incredibly serious, incredibly dark, and he's always thinking about his people over everything else. Then you have Raven the Bold's Aquaman, and he is outrageous! I actually enjoyed that because he was just funny. But there was a commonality between them, which is the definitive Aquaman, is that he was always a king. Aquaman inside this Justice League movie was no king. He was an outsider. He was a drunk. He was a guy who was kicking out monsters. He was just anything but a king. I know it's supposed to be somewhat an origin story, but unless the Aquaman movie has him being a king inside person, like how Aragorn was a king inside person even though he didn't have his crown yet, then this Aquaman is going to fail miserably. So, yeah, I'm going to give Jason Momoa's Aquaman a F. Next up, we have The Flash by Ezra Miller. And, oh boy, a lot of people really liked him and said he was the best thing about the entire movie. I thought the opposite, actually. He was one of the worst parts. He was, okay, the Flash family are my second favorite group in all of DCdom. And the fact that we have yet to have a blonde live-action Barry Allen kind of ticks me off. So, I know it's petty. I know they got diversity points by casting Ezra Miller, but it'd be nice to get a blonde Barry Allen. And even though we had a Barry Allen Flash-like character, he wasn't Barry. Barry at the beginning of him being the Flash, was already an established adult. He had a job as a CSI officer over inside Central City. He had a goal in mind. He was already, I think, dating Iris, or was getting very close to dating her. And then he suddenly gets struck by lightning inside a chemical accident at work. So here you have this new Justice League Flash, who is a child who cannot keep a stable job. You don't really know exactly what his lab accident is, and people are making him out as one of the best comedic elements inside it. We didn't get Barry Allen. We got Wally West inside another skin. And I mean the proper Wally West. The Black Wally West is a completely different character from Redhead Wally West. So we got Wally West from Justice League, like a cartoon series, for the Flash being Barry Allen. Honestly, if they're not going to use Barry, they should just call him Wally, or they should call him Jay, or they call him Bart. Bart would be fun sometime, but I really want him with Tim. So I'm also going to give Flash here an F. And not F for Flash. He was just... No, he wasn't Barry. He was not a bad character, he was just the kid. And because he was the kid, he kind of derailed the story a bit. Next up, we have Cyborg, who actually I think did a really good job. Roy Fisher did a great job of showing Cyborg right after he becomes Cyborg, or becomes a cyborg. And he is currently confused. He is depressed. He doesn't know what he is. He has this extra language inside his brain that he can't figure out, and he has all this information. And even though he has all these additives that he was before he became Cyborg, now he has all these other things he's dealing with. And you actually see that with this Cyborg. This Cyborg is a lot like the Teen Titans Cyborg inside the Season 5 episode where they actually show how they got together. And that is the same kind of Cyborg. I think even at the end of the episode, Cyborg said booyah very quietly instead of booyah! So, in the end, you had Cyborg. When I was looking at him, I thought, oh yep, this is Cyborg. The only down part to him was that he was still a little bit too perfected inside characterization, or he was too perfect characters, like they were kind of scared what to do with him. But at the same time, he could develop into something greater. So I want to see him become better, become greater. I want to see a Cyborg movie because of how good this kid did. So I'm going to give Ray Fisher, as Cyborg, an A, or actually a B+ for his work. Next up, we have Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman. I'll eventually get the pronunciation right. So, Gal Gadot, she did a great job inside the original Wonder Woman movie, or the first live-action Wonder Woman movie. The cartoon's pretty good too, actually. And as she did well in there, she did pretty good here too. I thought that her and the Amazons were taken down a peg from what Patty Jenkins had for them, but they did a pretty good job with her. Honestly, she was pretty much the same, just a lot less naive, which is understandable after about 100 years. And they filled in a couple of the blanks for the Wonder Woman movie, so I'm happy with how she went. So I'm going to give her an A. No plus or minus, just A. She's solid. Next up, we have Batman. Batfleck. Oh. I was kind of looking forward to seeing him finally in action. I have not seen Batman vs. Superman. I was too scared off by Man of Steel. But I heard a lot of good things about Batfleck and how he did a great job presenting Bruce Wayne and also Batman at the same time and did a pretty good job that way. So I was looking forward to it. Honestly, when he was being Batman and Bruce Wayne, he was being the character, he did a pretty good job. When you had the Joss Whedon jokes thrown in, though, it sucked. Batman's sense of humor is not the same as Joss Whedon's sense of humor, and therefore all the Joss Whedon jokes that were thrown in last minute, they sucked, and that took away from the character. Batman's sense of humor is completely different. It's dry, it takes advantage of the people, and it exposes different things. He's always testing boundaries. So here we have Batfleck now taking orders from Joss Whedon, and those orders were bad. There was one joke in particular I thought was really bad, where Batman was just tossed to the side by Superman, and he's on the ground. He's going, "Oh yeah, something's bleeding. Something is definitely bleeding." Batman would not actually make that kind of joke. He'd really go, "Ow, ow, okay, getting up. Alfred is going to love this," and walk off, pretending that he's completely fine. But he would never verbally say anything, really. He would just be thinking inside his mind, going on, and toughing it out, because that's what he does. Like during the meeting, he was actually toughing it out, and no one realized that he was injured until one of them was following after him. So, yeah, the Joss Whedon jokes were very obvious when it came to Batman, and they sucked. And I'm not saying that I hate Joss Whedon. I have a certain love-hate relationship with him. Some of his jokes go very well, and they're great for a lot of things. But the fact that everyone inside his thing has the same sense of humor does not fly. So I'm going to give Batman this time around an A- because of the Joss Whedon jokes. He did a good job, but Joss Whedon really threw him off his game. And next we have Henry Cavill's Superman. And let me make this very, very clear. I hated Man of Steel. It got me to not watch Batman vs. Superman, any version whatsoever. So, how do I feel about the Superman that popped up at the very end of Justice League? I liked him. I really liked him. I liked how he was being cheesy. I liked how he was being bright. I liked his jokes. Yeah, you can say Joss Whedon was inside that part as well, but he was way different. His jokes actually made sense for him. He was a bit corny, and he was a superhero. He one-upped Flash inside how many people saved. That's definitely something that he would do in the comics. And he would do it in the nicest way possible. So, yeah. He did a great job. He was finally Superman. I mean, inside Man of Steel, I couldn't get into it until the last 5 minutes when he finally cracked a joke. The rest of it, he was so dark and depressing. He may as well have been Batman with superpowers, and that's never a good thing. So, I liked Henry Cavill as Superman finally, and that is the main reason I am telling you to go watch Justice League. Because I want to see the sequel. I want to see this Superman develop. I want to see this team change. And honestly, I think the best way to fix everything is if it had 3 different directors. If it had Zack Snyder taking care of Batman, if it had Patty Jenkins taking care of Wonder Woman, and it had Joss Whedon taking care of Superman, we would have the Justice League. The perfect Justice League. Because they understand the characters very, very well. And if the 3 of them could get together, they would basically be their own kind of superhero trinity. Which would be awesome. So, go see Justice League. I really want to see a sequel. And yeah, these are my personal opinions. If you want more reviews like this, like, share, subscribe, do something. Tell me something in the comments like this. Just tell me if you want more reviews like this, and I will do what I can to do that. And yeah, that's it for now. This is Glamera saying good night.